So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today we're going to be talking about the South African police force and their strike that was going on, as well as sort of their pause in activities. It's pretty interesting. Let's get right into it. The South African police force is the national police force. In the United States, we don't really have national police at all. Everything is state, local, city, county based. But in South Africa, they have a general police force for everything, and they do the same things that they do in the United States. And they do get to exercise judgment on what they do and when they execute it. And apparently, there's been quite a bit of concerns with respect to strikes affecting the police force and whether or not they're doing their legal duties. And we'll talk about this in a little bit because it actually cuts both ways with respect to strikes. And we'll talk about general police force strikes as a whole. From July 5th, 2007 to July 24th, 2007, the Umpaba Estates was a producer, which is a producer of bananas and subtropical produce, did a strike, and it got really violent. They started burning tires, throwing Molotov cocktails onto the employer's premises, et cetera, et cetera. It got pretty bad, and when the police responded in South Africa, it didn't get involved. At one time, it said that it doesn't involve itself in labor matters, which is, of course, they're throwing Molotov cocktails, damaging farm equipment, stealing produce, et cetera, et cetera. And at times the police force did take care of it, did do things, but ultimately the police force didn't take any decisive action against the striking employees. The estates, I would call it a plantation, is probably more accurate, but the plantation sought two more orders from the labor court to hold the striking employees in contempt of court and to arrest them, but the South African police force did nothing. It effected only a few arrests. And the Supreme Court agreed that the police force have the duty to respond to prevent the commission of crime and maintain public order at the estates for the duration of the strike. And so I get the impression, and it's not specifically said in this article, which is linked down below, of course, but I get the impression that perhaps the police force was on the side of the strikers and in support, and as a result, they refused to do anything, and they held that they were negligent. They had the Supreme Court of South Africa held that they were negligent because they could reasonably foresee and the reasonable preventability of harm or damage. So they could do something about it, and they knew it was going to happen, and they still did nothing. And so the police was also at the premises when an employee, which was one of the claimants, was attacked by a group of striking employees, but they failed to arrest anyone for it. So the striking employees attacked someone, the police didn't do anything, and the Supreme Court of Appeals for South Africa held the police force liable. Of course, they didn't do anything because there's nothing to do other than find that they were negligent on this case. The Supreme Court of Appeals dispelled the notion that they could not be expected to perform the duty of security guards, that they had the responsibility to prevent crime, and that the police force had a constitutional duty to intervene to prevent unlawful acts, as well as their inaction was deplorable. And of course, this is different than the United States. I mean, this is not something that I'm commenting on here today too much, but the Supreme Court held in 2005 that the police did not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm, even a woman who had obtained a court-issued protective order against a violent husband, making an arrest mandatory for a violation. So that's been the case for a long time in the United States. It should be clear that in the United States, you have no expectation of protection from the police. Of course, you may get it, you may not, but there is no constitutional expectation. And so in this case, South Africa has held that actually, you do have more protections with the police force in the workplace and elsewhere. Let me know what you think in the comment down below. I thought this was interesting, more from just a socioeconomic perspective, a political perspective, but there was a strike that went on in a plantation, and the police did nothing. Again, think it was a sympathy strike, although there's no evidence for that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.